Okay, Parashat Lech Lecha. It's time to go. It's time to walk, to get walking. Um,
Mark.
so I want to tell you guys before I start sharing this beautiful, beautiful, sweet, and very deep idea, which I hope resonates with some of you guys and gals. I had a whole different class. I had a whole different shear to share with you guys, a whole different idea I wanted to share with you guys until this morning. And I had a source sheet. I still have it. Uh, and it was going to focus on something completely different. But then this morning, when I sat down to have a cup of coffee, um, a little bit after I woke up, so I opened up this sefer, which is one of my favorite books. I've shared I've shared ideas with him from him with you in the past. This is called the Ohev Yisrael. Okay, that was his nickname, and it was written by Reb Avraham Yoshua Heschel of Apt. So I've mentioned him in the past. The name sounds familiar because he's the great and maybe a few more grandfather of Abraham Joshua Heschel, who is sometimes more well known than his own grandfather. But this is Rabbi Avraham Yeshua Heschel, who lived about 200 years ago. And I think I shared this story with you in the past. It's a short story, but it really gives a glimpse into his life and what kind of person he was. As he was taking off on his deathbed, before he was niftar, he called over his students and he said to them, "Listen, I'm about to take off. I'm about to return my neshama, my soul to Hashem, and I know that this is what I've seen, that after I pass away, after I take off, you guys are probably gonna want to write on my tombstone that I was the biggest rabbi and I was the greatest this and I knew all the Torah and so on and so forth. But I got to tell you all, okay, please, for the love of God, please do not write on my tombstone that I was a giant in the Torah, that I knew a lot of Torah, because when I get to the heavenly court in just a few moments, when I get to the heavenly court and they ask me, Avram, did you learn Torah? And I'll say, yes, I learned Torah. And they'll ask me, did you really learn Torah, like as much as you could? So unfortunately, I'll have to admit that I learned Torah, but I could have squeezed in a few more seconds here and there. So please don't write on my gravestone, on my tombstone, that I learned a lot of Torah, because it's not 100% true. And please don't write that I fulfilled many mitzvot, because if they ask me, Avram, Yoshua Heschel, did you fulfill all the mitzvot to the best of your ability? And also then, I'm going to say I fulfilled the mitzvot, but the truth is I probably could have invested and put a little more into fulfilling them. And he went on, sharing with his students what not to write. And then he said to them, but listen, when they ask me in the heavenly court, Avram, did you love every Jew with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might? I'll be able to take a deep breath, a deep soul breath, stand up straight and say to them, yes, I loved every Yid. I loved every Jewish person with every single fiber of my being, and I could not have loved them more. So that's the one thing you can write on my tombstone, which is true, that I was a Ohev Yisrael. I was a lover of Jews. And so that's what they nicknamed him. And that's what, after he moved on, that's what they called this book, the Ohev Yisrael, the Ohev Yisrael. So very sweet Rebbe. And again, like I was saying, I was sitting having my cup of coffee, and I started looking through his sefer. I haven't looked through it in a while, and I saw this beautiful idea. And it's not nice to compare different Torah ideas, but that kind of happen kind of happens sometimes. And in my humble opinion, the idea that I'm going to share with you guys from his sefer, which is all that Rashi print on the sheet, overrides, at least to me, in its mind blowing, okay, soul searching concept, the other idea which I previously planned to share with you guys. So without further ado, after that long hakdama, without further ado, guys, we're jumping in the Parashat Lech Lecha. This is the parsha, guys. This is the parsha where the first Jew makes it to Israel. Okay, it's not to be taken for granted. it's not just another parsha. There never is another parsha, obviously, but this perhaps more than others. And next week we'll say that next parsha is more than others. But this parsha, guys, is one of the parshas, one of the most important Torah portions, because it's a parsha where finally the land of Israel has a Jewish person walking in it. For all those years, from the moment the world was created until Avram Avinu and Sarah Imenu, until Abraham and Sarah started taking their first steps when they came into Israel from the Golan, more or less, from the northeast, there were no Jewish people in Israel. So Shlomo would say, this is a very beautiful idea. He would ask, why in the world did Hashem have to tell Avram to go to Israel in order to show it to him? That's what it says here in the first verse. Go from your land, to the land that I will show you. That, if Hashem wanted to show me the land, or perhaps some of you guys, we're not on the level of Avram. So Hashem would have to tell us, listen, Asher, you want to see Israel? You got to go there. But Hashem could have easily told Avram, who was one of the biggest prophets, okay, and his Rebbetzin Sarah, who according to the rabbis was an even bigger prophet than her holy husband Avram. Hashem could have showed them in a prophetic vision the holiness of Eretz Yisrael. Hashem could have shown them Canaan land. Why did he have to schlep them all these miles and everything? So Shlomo would say, in the name of Reb Simcha Banim of Farshischa, he would say that Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, without a Jewish person in it, is not really worth much. It doesn't have its charm. It doesn't have its beauty. It doesn't have its kedusha. It doesn't have its holiness. So Hashem could not show. Hashem could do anything, but there was nothing to show Avram while Avram is outside of Israel. There's nothing special about Israel to show him. Israel was not shining yet. Hashem had to bring Avram to Israel. And now finally, after all these years, since the world was created, there's a Jewish person in Israel. There are two Jews, Avram and Sarah. There are two Jews in Israel. And now Israel is shining with its holiness, with radiant, with its beauty. And that's why Hashem took Avram. Okay, and so every step that we take in Israel, we are adding to the beauty of Eretz Yisrael. When we step, physically, if you step down on the ground, you push whatever you're pressing on down. Like I remember reading once when I was a kid, I just remembered it right now, a Charlie Brown comic strip where they learned in school that the world has many problems. So Charlie Brown suggests to his friends that they should not walk on the street because they're flattening down the earth and they're pressing down the earth, and the earth will eventually disappear. So they should walk on the sidewalk instead. So it's not to do that. So physically, if you walk on something, you push it down. You push down. You cause it to a certain degree of erosion. And it becomes less. If you walked on something, after you walked on it, it is less than what it was before you walked on it. Whether it's a little mound of dirt or a big mountain, okay, or it's a pile of leaves, whatever it is. But Eretz Yisrael, and in many spiritual aspects, the more you walk on Israel, the more Israel becomes Israel. The more holy it becomes, the more Israel grows and becomes special. It's a very, very, very sweet idea. So that's Avraham Avinu, coming to the land of Israel. So let's see the first few psukim. Okay? Hashem says to Avram, okay, Lech lecha me'artzecha u'mimoladetecha u'mibet avicha al haaretz asher areka. Hashem said to Avram, go for you, Lech lecha, go for you, or go you, from your land and from your birthplace and from your father's house to the land that I will show you. Hashem is kind of like really driving it home. Leave everything which is familiar to you, anything that makes you, anything that builds your comfort zone, leave all that and travel to the land of Israel, which makes sense. You're going to be the father of my chosen nation, potentially, probably. You have to leave everything behind and open up a new page and start a new page, a new document. You got to toss the old computer and get a new one. Okay? And what does Hashem say to him? This is Pasuk Bet, the second verse. I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a bracha. Okay, so Rashi now, okay, and Rashi's job, and this is important to remember, I've shared this with you in the past, as Rashi himself says, Rashi is not here to tell us stories. Rashi's commentary is not to give his own 2 cents. Rashi's commentary is not to give metaphors or drush and so on. Rashi's job, as he says in his words, lipshuto shel mikra. He came to explain the simple understanding of what's going on. The simple understanding, okay? Not something which is hidden, or not a metaphor, or not like sewed secrets or Kabbalah or whatever it is. The simple pshat of the psukim. The simple, it's difficult to say that about the Torah, but the simple, I guess, is not a good word, but the pashut, okay, the basic understanding, that's a better term, the basic understanding of the pasuk. And Rashi here really goes to town. So whenever Rashi goes to town and brings many explanations to one pasuk or one word or a few words, you have to ask yourself, what's going on here? Rashi is not a teenager just babbling and whatever. Okay, every word is thought out, and every word that Rashi brings is in order to explain the basic understanding of the verse, of the psukim. So if Rashi goes to town, then there's a lot going on here. And this is what we're going to see. So Rashi says, Lech lecha, go for you. Rashi explains, for your benefit. Why does a pasuk say go for you? Why doesn't Hashem just say go? Lech lecha. It could have said, Hashem said to Avram, go, okay, from your land and from your, why, what's the deal with the for you? Because Hashem is telling Avram, go for you. You're not really going, you're going to benefit off of this. For your benefit and for your good. I brought Rashi just in English this time, okay? And there I will, but it's basically translated from the Hebrew. And there I will make you into a great nation, okay? That's in the pasuk. I will make you a great nation, pasuk bet. What does that mean? That here in roughly Kurdistan, okay, you will not merit to have children. So you got to move to Israel, and there I'll make you a great nation. You'll have children. Moreover, additionally, I will make your character known in the world. That's what Rashi says. And that's what it means. Ve'agadla shemecha. I will make your name great. Okay, I will make your character known in the world. Everybody's going to be speaking about Abe. Everyone's going to be speaking about Avraham Avinu. He's going to be on the front page. Okay, and I will bless you. What does it mean? I will bless you. Okay, with money, mammon. You'll become very rich. And Rashi continues, and you shall be a blessing. That says in the pasuk here. You'll see in a moment where I'm going with this. You shall be a blessing. What does that mean? Veheyeh bracha. You shall be a bracha. So Rashi says the blessings are entrusted into your hand. Hashem tells him, as Rashi is explaining to us, that now Avram is going to be able to give out blessings. Until then, it was Hashem and perhaps Noach and so on. Now Avram is going to be the one who can give out brachas. Great. This is awesome stuff. Okay? We'll get back to it in just a moment. Rashi continues. Another explanation. Davar acher in Hebrew. Davar acher. Okay, something else. Another explanation. And I will make you into a great nation. What does that mean? I'll make you into a great nation. This is the basis of what we say in Shmona Esrei. Okay, Elokei Avraham, the God of Abraham. In the beginning of Shmona Esrei, okay, we say Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. In the Amidah, in the silent prayer. Okay, so that comes from this verse. I will make you into a great nation. That great nation is what we remind ourselves about when we say the God of Avraham, Elokei Avraham. And then the pasuk continues to say, and I will bless you. Okay, right over here. Rashi says, what does that teach us? That's the basis of saying the next part in Shmona Esrei in the Amida prayer, Elokei Yitzchak, the God of Yitzchak. Okay, and I will make your name great. This is the basis of saying the God of Yaakov, Elokei Yaakov. We say in the beginning of Shmona Esrei, Elokei Avraham, and Rashi says, okay, that comes from here, Elokei Avraham. There we go. Elokei Yitzchak, I will bless you. Ve'elokei Yaakov, I'll make your name great. Okay, that's the other explanation for this. Great, as Rashi is telling us. But keeping in mind, Rashi doesn't stam for no reason share something unless it has to do with the crucial, basic understanding of the psukim. And so what we need to ask ourselves, and this is a golden rule, whenever Rashi says another explanation, something else, that would imply that there is something missing or lacking with the previous explanation, which forced Rashi, in order to understand the basic understanding of the verses, to bring another explanation. We'll get to that in a moment. Rashi continues, and this is the last Rashi. I know it's long. From your land, okay, from your land up here, which is a little odd that Rashi at the end goes back to the beginning. After he said all this, he's now at the end of the verse. He's over here, and now he brings this idea from your land, which is back over here. We'll get to that in a moment. From your land. Now, had he not already gone out of there with his father and come as far as Haran? Rashi Avram at the end of last parsha Noach, he already left Ur Kasdim. He's already on his way to Israel. They left. So Rashi saying, wait, he already left. He's on his way. And they got to Haran, which is much closer to Israel. So what does it mean from your land? Avram already left. He already left his land, his birthplace. So Rashi explains, rather Hashem said to him, distance yourself more from there and leave your father's house. Okay? Leave the land that you're in now, even though it's not the land that you were born in. You already left that in last Parsha. You got to get now farther away from your family, from your father, from that whole energy, which is not so healthy if you're to become the first Jewish person. Great. Are you guys all with me? You understand this long Rashi? Okay, it's basic stuff. Great. Now we got to see one medrash. Okay, but before that, guys, I'm going to start the idea. And I'm sorry that this is a little blurry. That's to guarantee that if the small Rashi script doesn't give you a headache, the blurriness does give you a headache. Okay, because remember, okay, the rabbis say that one of the things which is acquired through pain sometimes is learning Torah. I just want to help you guys get there. That's all. Okay. So this is from the Ohev Yisrael. And this is a beautiful idea. You got to have a little patience and you got to hang in there till he starts getting to his point. But it's a beautiful idea. Okay. He brings he brings everything that we saw. Okay. What we just saw. Rashi. Okay. And he asks, and I'm starting here. I'll read some in Hebrew and some just into English. He asks, wait a second. This is very difficult. Kashe. Lama hefech Rashi haseder lefaresh al me'artzecha hamukdam bapasuk rishon meuchar ma'perushim shepiresh al ve'escha. Why, and that's what I just mentioned, why at the end does Rashi bring this idea? This should have been brought before. It's on this part of the pasuk. So why does Rashi say all this stuff and only at the end go back to the beginning of the verse? Okay, there's a chronological problem here in Rashi. But this is not a printing problem. Rashi decided to do this. Rashi decided to talk about this and talk about this and talk about this and talk about this. Okay, this. And then, at the end, decides to go back to here. Why did Rashi do that? And that's something that many of us might not even notice. I didn't notice that. Okay? First question. That's the first shaila. Second of all, the Oiv Yisrael asks, Gam, I'm trying to look for okay, here we go. Gam hadavar acher shehivi Rashi. What is going on here? I'm sorry. That's better. Okay. Gam הדבר אחר שהביא רש"י ז"ל הוא אך למותר. וזאת ידוע אם היה רוצה רש"י ז"ל להביא כל הפירושים שהובאו במדרשים על כל פסוק תקצר היריעה מהחיל. The Rav Yisrael is saying, wait a second, this additional thing, this another explanation right here is a little odd. Okay? If Rashi wanted to bring all the explanations, do you know how many explanations are in the Midrash? The Rav Yisrael is saying there wouldn't be enough room on the page for Rashi to bring all the other explanations. Okay? And the Rav Yisrael reminds us, okay, Eino mevi rak hatzarich lipshuto shel mikra. Can you guys see that little hand I have in the sheet here? Yeah? You guys see the little hand? Yes? So the Rav Yisrael tells us Rashi only brings explanations that help us understand the basic meaning of the verse, of the pasuk. Pshuto shel mikra. That's what I said before. Or shehuksha lo ezo kushia. Or something was difficult for him, which is why he needed to bring another explanation. Lachen mevi b'kama mekomot hadavar acher. Therefore, sometimes Rashi brings another explanation, something else, in order to explain and to answer. But here, it seems like extra language. Sfat yeter. Extra language. Again, the question is, why does Rashi bring this whole explanation here? Another explanation, which in Hebrew, you say davar acher. Okay, something else. Another thing. Why does Rashi bring? There are so many explanations. Rashi brought this one. If Rashi brought this explanation, in order for us to understand the basic meaning of the verses, so then what's going on here? What do we need to understand? What did we not understand without it? And what do we now understand with it? Okay, so here we go, guys. So now the Rebbe, the Oiv Yisrael, brings this midrash right up here. Midrash Tanchuma. Okay? The midrash says, in next parsha, Parshat Vayera, okay, we know that Avraham Avinu is given his last and 10th trial to see if he can live up to the mission of being the first Jewish person, the founder of the chosen nation. It's a huge obligation. So Hashem runs him through these 10 trials, Asara Nisyonot. The binding of Yitzchak and the almost sacrifice and slaughtering of Yitzchak, the almost, is the last one. And it's very beautiful because when Hashem tells Avram to take his son Yitzchak to Mount Moriah, he uses the same opening language that he uses here. What does he say? Go for you. Just in lech lecha, just like in our parsha, go for you. This is the first trial that Avram has, and the binding of Yitzchak is the last trial that he has. Okay, so the Midrash says, why does it say go for you? It implies that the last trial, the binding of Yitzchak in the next parsha, was similar to the first. At the first trial, go for you from your land, from your birthplace. And at the last trial, he said, go for you to the land of Moriah. So the Midrash is saying that these two trials are similar. But if you think about it, that's the last thing they are. Yes, they're similar, that this trial begins linguistically with the same opening, go for you. And the last trial, the binding of Yitzchak, also begins, go for you. But that's the only thing, I would say, in which they're similar. In everything else, they're polar opposites. Why? I'm sure you guys are thinking about this already now. Because in this, can you even call this a trial? We're going to see the Rebbe asks. In this trial, Hashem tells him, go to this magical land called Canaan. And you know what's going to happen in this magical land? You'll become a great nation. You'll have children. Here you can't have children. You'll go to this magical land of Canaan. You'll have kids. Wow. Second of all, you'll become famous. People will be speaking about you. You're going to be in the front page of the newspaper every single day. Third of all, you're going to become a multimillionaire. I'll bless you with money. Does this sound like a trial to you guys? Okay. Fourth of all, number 4, the blessings are entrusted into your hand. You know those jokes? You know, a genie goes over to someone and says, you got 3 wishes you can make. Hashem is giving Avraham an infinite amount of wishes. He has the power to give a blessing and the blessing be fulfilled. Not just, oh, I bless you with this and that. The real deal. Okay? Is this a trial? The last thing this is a trial. Okay? If I was, that's crazy. And the last trial, the binding of Yitzchak, this trial, that's a trial. That's polar opposite to this. In this, he's told to go to Canaan and he'll have children. What is he told in the last trial? To kill his kid, to kill his child, to lose everything, to go against everything he stood for and preached his whole life. Okay, he's built a name. He's famous. I make your name great. He's famous for talking about one God, not to sacrifice your children to your pagan gods, to your idols. And now he's asked to do that. These are like extremes. So the only similarity is, seemingly the only similarity is the linguistic opening. Go for you. So that's like kindergarten level. It's like, first grade level. Oh, this trial is like this trial because they have the same words. But the content, the trials themselves are so different. Okay? But if the Midrash is saying they're very similar, okay, the last trial was similar to the first, it means, it mamish means that the similarity is not just in the words. That's the externals of the package. The similarities are in the inside. And here we're about to get a glimpse, guys, not only of the inside of the Midrash, but in the inside of the soul, of the neshama, of the mind, of the Kishkes of Avraham Avinu. And this is very, very beautiful, what the Rebbe is about to share. Okay? Keeping this Midrash in mind. So listen to this. And please stop me if something is not clear. I'm happy nobody has dozed off yet. Thank you. Okay, here we go. So the Rebbe brings a Midrash. The Avisal brings a Midrash. Okay. Now the Rebbe says, and I gave you guys a little taste of this. Me'od yufla mal hanisayon halazo po. What in the world are the rabbis talking about? That in our parsha, this is a trial. It's the first of the 10 trials of Avram, that he has to leave his family and travel to Kol Kach Gadol Belechto Me'arzo Shakatuv Meshabcho Be'omro Va'elech Avraham. The trial is so big that the verse later tells us, I put it right here, that Avram went as God told him. Like the verses are praising him. He actually did it. That was such a hard trial. And Abraham stood up to the trial, to the challenge, and he went to Canaan. He went to Israel. וכי יעלה הלב איזו בריאה שלא לציית לדבר השם, חס וחלילה, אף פחותי ערך הרבה, בכמה מדרגות מאברהם אבינו עליו השלום? Are you serious, the Rebbe is saying? Would I even think? Would I even entertain the idea? Would any creature entertain the idea not to listen to the word of Hashem, God forbid, even the lowest creature, who's much lower in many levels than Avraham Avinu of blessed memory, if imayu zochin lishmoa dvar Hashem, if they would have merited to hear the word of Hashem, mipiv yitbarach, if I would have heard God's mouth speaking to me, not my mental problems, voices in my head going crazy. If I would have heard Hashem's voice speaking to me in His mouth, telling me, afilu sheilech misof haolam ad sofo. Even if Hashem told me, go from one end of the world, I need you to do a trip from one end of the world to the other end of the world. Bevadai, surely, mihu peti asher lo yishma divrei Elohim chaim hamedaber ito imo. Ve'im ken, ma'o shivcho shel Avraham Avinu alav hashalom. The Ohev Yisrael is saying, any low-life creature, human being or not, who actually heard, if they would hear the word of Hashem telling them to travel the globe from one point all the way to the other, all the way around the planet Earth, anybody would listen to God if God actually was speaking to him. Okay, so what's the verse praising? Oh, this was a big trial for Avraham. What trial? Hashem, the creator of the world, who we can only dream about and believe in and experience in our lives in different ways, like in measured dosage. Okay, but imagine Hashem spoke to us and told us to take a road trip. That's the best. Like, that's unbelievable. And now, so that's the first part of his question. You guys with me? Yes. Okay. The Rebbe continues to ask. Oh wow, it's 10-9. Okay. The Rebbe continues to ask. Ubiyoter tema. It's even more shocking, astonishing, bewildering. Ma'o nisayon. What trial? Haloscharo betzido. Avram is being rewarded. I gotta catch my breath here. שהשם יתברך הבטיחו שעל ידי הליכה זו ירוויח כל כך טובות והברכות לו ולזרעו אחריו עד סוף כל הדורות. Hashem is promising him that he is going to have all these blessings. He's going to have children. He's going to become famous. He's going to be a multi-millionaire. What? Okay? So what? The last thing this is a trial. You guys get it, Shaila? Even if Hashem would not have promised him any reward, Hashem told him to travel to go to Israel. How could this be difficult? How could it be an inner struggle on any level? And especially that he's being told that he'll be getting all these rewards. Okay, so here we go. And now, because of lack of time, I'm going to shift into English. I'm just going to read it and share it with you guys in English as I read. But I'll use a little yad here. Okay? Okay, so the root of the matter is the following, the Rebbe says. Surely, the main thing to strive for when we do any mitzvah or any act that Hashem asks us to do is not to do it for my personal good, not to do it for my personal gain, for my personal reasons, for benefit that I might get off of it. Rather, I'll explain what he means in just a moment. Rather, it should be done with a pure and clear and purified thought to fulfill the word of the King of the world. When I do something that Hashem asks me to do, I should do it because he asks me to do it. I should not do it because of any positive side effect which I will benefit off of as a result of doing it. Like, for example, when we went to Syracuse and we lived there, we worked in the Jewish community for 2 years. So Ali and me, my wife and me, we spoke about how we have family a few hours away from Syracuse. And we spoke about how we should go to Syracuse despite having family nearby and not because of having family nearby. Meaning, we should go and work in a Jewish community that needs us, even though we have family nearby. Because the danger of having family nearby is that we might want to go to Syracuse because we have family nearby. And that'd be nice, and we can visit, they can babysit. That is a positive side effect. But if that is part of the reason for us going to Syracuse, then from the very beginning, we're going to Syracuse, not L'Shem Shamayim, not L'Shem Syracuse. We're not going to Syracuse for Syracuse. And then the danger with that is once anything would get difficult there, become a challenge, we would not be as devoted necessarily or up for the challenge as much as we could have been because we're there because our family is nearby. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So we had to ignore our family being okay, just like someone in the elite in the Shayetet in Israel, a soldier in the Shayetet in Israel, he can't go to the Green Berets, to the Navy SEALs, excuse me, the Israeli Navy SEALs, the Shayetet, because he's gonna get a good name, because it's an amazing ego trip, because he's gonna have many doors open for him after he finishes being a soldier, because he was in like a top unit, or because of the girls he could pick up as an 18, 19, 20-year-old once he tells them he was in the Navy SEALs. That's not going to keep him going. That's not going to help him control his heartbeat in freezing cold water for a few hours, like someone in the Navy SEALs told me they have to learn to do. You need to want to join the Israeli Navy SEALs because you want to protect the state of Israel, the land of Israel, and the Jewish people. Period. All the other positive side effects are ripples. So the Rebbe is saying, that's me as a Jew, I have to be devoted to Hashem to do it because he asked. Okay? And I want to make the world a better place and listen to him. That's it. Not regardless and despite any physical gain I might get off of it. Okay. So now the Rebbe says, the main trial of Avraham Avinu, alav shalom, was that his thoughts stay pure and clean and clear without any garbage, God forbid, that he should have in mind that he's going to Israel for his goodness, his benefit and pleasure, even though he knew that he really is going to have a lot of good, as he heard from Hashem. This is like I don't know what term in English, if you guys got what he's saying. The trial here for Avram is that Hashem told Avram, you should go to Israel, because this magical land, because it's going to be awesome. You're going to have all these physical pleasures, children, riches, fame, bam. Now what's the trial there? That Avram has to take all that personal benefit that he's going to get, all that pleasure that he's going to derive from going to Israel, take all that's in his mind now, because Hashem told him. And it's not a question to him. This is what's deep about this. It's not a question to Avram, am I really going to get what the travel agent promised me in this magical land? It's not a travel, it's Hashem. He for sure is going to get all these physical pleasures. So now what's the difficulty? What's the trial for Avram? He has to take all that knowledge of all the good that he is personally going to get and throw it out the window, ignore it, put it on the side, and go to Israel, do what Hashem is asking of him. Why? Because Hashem is asking him to do it. For that reason and only that reason. And that is the trial. You guys understand so far what the Rebbe is saying? Okay, you might have heard a similar idea in the past. Okay, so what does the Rebbe says? Im kol zeh, with everything that Avram knew, he's going to become a multimillionaire. He'll have children, fame, He didn't pay attention to any of that, and he focused only to go to Israel to fulfill the word of Hashem, to bring happiness, nachat ruach, to bring happiness to his Creator, because this way Hashem's name will become great and big. God will be known throughout the world and all the creatures in any place that he comes. And that was in his kavanah, to go to Israel and make God great, not make himself great, even though that was going to happen. He put that on the side. Can you imagine what he had? Can you imagine the inner struggle he had to go through? Unbelievable stuff. So I'm skipping this, and this is just the beginning of what the Rebbe is saying. Okay, and now I'm just gonna share with you what he's saying loosely, because we're our time. We don't have a lot of more time left, but it's very beautiful what he continues to say. Okay, Avram made up his mind not to go for the wrong reasons, not to go for the parsley of the main meal. Okay, to go for the main and real reason, because Hashem asked him to go so he could publicize and make Hashem great in the world. Nothing to do with his personal pleasure. Okay, so the Rebbe says, when this was said to Avram, when Hashem told Avram to go, okay, so right away the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, okay, the Yetzer Hara piped up and said to Avram, yeah, you should go fulfill what Hashem wants. You'll have a lot of good coming to you, like Hashem told you. Meaning the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination of Avram, didn't tell him, don't go to Israel. Like when Hashem asks us to daven or not speak Lashon Hara, what does the Yetzer Hara tell us, the evil inclination? It tells us, no, don't daven. Speak Lashon Hara. It tells us the opposite of what Hashem wants us to do. So here, the Yetzer Hara in Avram, this is beautiful what the Rebbe is saying now. I said we're going to get a little glimpse of the Kishkes, of the soul, of the mindset of Avram. So the Rebbe is saying that his Yetzer Hara didn't say to him, Avram, don't listen. Stay here. What are you talking? This is comfortable. Don't go to that. No. The Yetzer Hara said to him, you should go. You're going to have a lot of good benefit as Hashem spoke to you. You're going to have all these, you're going to become rich and so on. Okay, you're going to have children. You should fulfill this. Look at this. This is great. You'll become famous and you'll be able to bless everybody. So, but Avram Avinu, because of his greatness and because of him being him, and that's exactly what he was like, he realized that was the Yetzer Hara. To go for those reasons would be listening to his Yetzer Hara. And this was a trial that Hashem was giving to him to see what would be the motivation that would drive Avram to Israel. All those positive benefit, all the positive side effect, all the pleasure, the money, the children, or the fact that I asked him to go, that Hashem asked him to go, and that's it. Avram realized that, okay? Avram realized that. And so when he realized that that's not his Yetzer Tov. That's not his good inclination telling him, yeah, go. You'll have children. You'll become rich, as Hashem told you. Listen to God. He told you to go for all these reasons. Avram realized it's the Yetzer Hara. And so right away, Avram got a grip on himself. Okay? And he started yelling. It's so beautiful. And this is this is one of the cherries on this cake of this beautiful idea. I got to read this in Hebrew. Miyad hitchil v'tzovech. Avraham Avinu started yelling, Davar acher. Avraham Avinu started yelling, Davar acher. Another explanation. Wait, I got to give a different explanation for why I'm going to Israel. In Hebrew, it sounds better. I know in English it's not so smooth. In Hebrew, another explanation is said davar acher, which literally means something else. So when so what is the Rebbe saying? This word in Rashi here, which is usually a word that Rashi puts between two different ideas that he brings, that's not what's going on here. I hope you guys are following this so far. The Rebbe is saying what's going on here is this. We should put it in quotes. This is Avraham Avinu yelling, Davar acher. This is Avraham Avinu trying to get a grip on his Yetzer Hara, saying, wait, there's a different reason. There has to be a different reason for me to go to Israel. Not all this. Not all this stuff. You guys get me? You understand what the Rebbe is? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So Avraham Avinu started yelling, Davar acher. I don't know if he means he yelled it physically or in his heart. Okay? He started yelling Davar acher, and then what? What's the other thing? The other thing Avraham Avinu realized is this, that I should go to Israel to make, Hashem great. To make and have a child who will also say, the God of Yitzchak and the God of Yaakov, that the emphasis should be here Hashem. What's the difference in this commentary that Rashi brings and this? Here, Avram. Over here, Avram is the center of attention. Okay? You will be a great nation. Okay? You will be known in the world. You will have money. You will have the blessings in your hand. Avraham Avinu realized this. Wait a second. The Yetzer Hara is trying to make me go to Israel for me, for all this stuff. So Avraham Avinu yelled, Davar acher, wait, there has to be a different reason. I don't want to listen to you. Shut up. And what's the other reason? The other reason is putting Hashem in the focus, putting Hashem under the spotlight. So I can make Hashem big in the world. Look, the God of Avram, the God of Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, the God of Yaakov. Okay? Beautiful. You guys with me? This is like mamish going on in the Kishkes, in the soul and the mind of Avraham Avinu. Okay? And this way he was able to push away the Yetzer Hara. Okay? And the Rebbe goes on to prove this. We don't have time. And that's, and that was the cherry on the cherry. But there's a third cherry. So this is just a second cherry on top of the whipped cream on the cake. So the Rebbe says, that's why the Torah is telling us Avram went as Hashem had spoken to him. We asked originally, what's the big deal? Avram went. Obviously he went. He was promised riches and fame and children. But now that we know how Avraham Avinu went, this is a big deal. Why did Avraham Avinu go? Because Hashem spoke to him. Literally, not because of all this stuff. Okay? A great nation, named great, a blessing, being rich. Why did Avraham Avinu go? Because Hashem said to him. Okay? Vayelech Avraham, Kashem diber elav Hashem. Avraham Avinu went, the Torah is telling us, despite all the physical pleasure that he was getting. That's not why he went. Why did he go? Because Hashem asked him to go. Okay? That's why he went. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And the Rebbe ends by saying here, okay, that that's why here at the end of his commentary, okay, he now, after Rashi explained the beginning, all this is basically explaining the beginning of the verse, then he goes to your land, okay, from your land, because all this was to explain the go for you. All this was to explain the Lech Lecha. Okay, the Hashem said to Avram. And at the end of that, Rashi brings, not in the chronological order, but actually in the chronological order, the from your land, okay, me'avtzecha. I didn't put on the thing. Second. Right, to explain the basic meaning of what does from your land mean. After he explained what was going on for Avraham Avinu and why it was such a trial, which would justify the Torah telling us that Avram went as Hashem told him to go. Because that's why he went, because Hashem told him to go. What do you guys think? Isn't this a beautiful idea? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Ohev Yisrael at his finest.